rally once again, shouting the battle cry of freedom.
So, as we continue to discuss the first phase of the Israel and Hamas deal, one has to wonder why some representatives are opposed to this going on any further. The first nation guilty of this, of course, is always the culprit, Iran, who skipped the Gaza summit held in Egypt on Monday, and when asked for a comment, a representative cited favoring diplomacy, but being unable to engage with those who he said have attacked the Iranian people and continue to threaten us with sanctions. So President Trump moved ahead, as he should have, but one is left wondering whether detractors like Iran will be a problem for the continued peace efforts. I wanted to bring this gentleman in. You guys love him here. He is Cornell University's law professor and equal protection project manager, a founder rather, William Jacobson. William, I want to go to the heart of this here. We hear about the peace deal, but how, let me play double advocate here. If you have a country, several that's around, that have a ideology, I do not use the term, William, religion, according to their own hadiths, I know it, I have background in this, and their Quran. They're not a religion, they are a government. Their end goal is Sharia law. How, my friend, do we, I don't know, find some commonality with these groups who are on record to say, we're going to destroy Israel. We're going to push them into the sea. Give us an opportunity. How do we do that, William?
Well, it's tough. And I think President Trump is probably heading in the right direction for some level of peace, which is to identify the Arab Muslim countries who are at least willing to normalize relations with Israel. Iran is by far the biggest problem, but Iran is a little bit of a distance away. There are countries between Israel and Iran. And so I think Trump's approach is try to normalize the situation and others will come around. Now, Iran is never going to come around. I mean, Iran is an apocalyptic ideology. The Mullah regime is an apocalyptic vision. So they will never be convinced, but at least you can distance them. You can create a buffer. I think you're raising, though, another bigger point, which is, will the Islamic world ever accept a non-Islamic state in the region, particularly a Jewish state, a majority Jewish state? And that's a bigger problem, and that's something that people don't want to talk about, but that is the major problem.
So, William, I'm going to go here. I have a background in this. I've studied these things, and I've done so for a very, very long time. This is not some personal hatred that I have against Group A versus Group B. However, and I've said this before almost ad nauseum, I don't believe under any circumstance, and I don't discount, William, by the way, the work of my president, Donald J. Trump. I've traveled with him back in 15-16, one of his chief supporters, from auditorium to auditorium, speaking prior to then candidate Trump even getting up. I get it. I know why he's doing what he's doing. I know that the Islamic world respects strength. I get that as well. But what happens when a new Pharaoh doesn't know Joseph? What happens when all of a sudden we have a new president at some point? Will not the 68 million group of Iranians, not counting the other 60 plus, 90 plus million of other Sharia and Sunni believers, because at the core of their belief, not religion, at the core of their belief, William, you know this, I know this, is the objective of Sharia law. How then, and I'm not saying we should, my friend, gone in the direction that Trump has gone in. I think it's wise. But how then do we move forward knowing inevitably, if they live out just a percentage of what they believe is true, they hate Christians and they hate Jews. Jews on Saturdays and Christians on Sundays. You know the language. They're going to do it if they get an opportunity. How do we prohibit these hateful groups from having success? William.
Well, I think in the case of Israel, it's through military strength. Even if there's a normalization of relations with Saudi Arabia or other countries, normalization is not a thing that protects you. And the normalization with Egypt has not gone very well. Egyptian society is still, if they could, would destroy Israel. Maybe the peace has been better than the war, but it's not really a coexistence. And so I think that it's got to combine two things. One, Israel needs to be able to defend itself, needs to be able to defend itself independent of international support. And unfortunately, the way the politics seem to be going here, in a few years, it may need to be able to defend it itself without American support. At the same time, the normalization of relations, which has worked with some countries, is a way to create a more peaceful atmosphere. So I think Israel needs to maintain its military supremacy, but it also would be in its interest to try to normalize relations. So I think it's really two tracks. But you can't have normalization and then use that as an excuse to demilitarize, because that's a prescription for extermination.
I concur. And one of the things, William, I'm really concerned about is even here in our own country. I took a little heat for saying this. And again, I'm just looking at the data. I know history. I would like to think pretty well. I don't have a jurisprudence degree behind my name, but I have a few others. I'm concerned when I see places like Michigan, when I see other areas of our country. Why in the world are we allowing people in? Now, again, I'll be vilified, William, for saying this, but just hear my argument. Why would we allow any form of any government that doesn't hide behind, quote, religion? Why would we allow individuals to come into our country whose objective is Sharia law that is antithetical to the constitutional republic that we have in this nation? Why are we not able to talk like this in a civil way, and then at the same time prohibit individuals that would be so divisive that they'll tear this nation apart if we don't do something? Am I going too far, William, for making that assertion?
No, and we have not only almost 1,400 years of history, we have current events. Look at what has happened in London. Look at what has happened in Paris. We don't want to become London and Paris. We want to continue to be America. And it's a tension that we have because we do have a constitution and everybody has individual rights. On the other hand, the Constitution is not a suicide pact, and we're entitled to maintain a republic that upholds that Constitution. And so by allowing people in who are not committed to that, by allowing people in who do not view our Constitution as valid, by allowing people in who come for the very purpose of subverting our society, we're committing suicide. There's a term, I don't know if you know of God, Saad has used, quote, suicidal empathy. And that's really what we're going through. So we are entitled to protect our country. We are entitled to preserve our republic. And we are entitled to have immigration policies that support those goals. And calling us names and making all sorts of accusations may be effective publicly, but it shouldn't deter us. We are entitled to preserve our constitutional republic against enemies, domestic and foreign. And the foreign ones we should keep out of the country.
Cornell University law professor is with us today. He's also the Equal Protection Project founder, William Jacobson. William, you and I will be branded as, I don't know, Islamophobic, I'm sure, once this is over. And I gladly wear that title, by the way, for just speaking truth. I mean, these are just facts that we just happen to be sharing. Do you think our institutions are also guilty? I'm talking about institutions of higher learning, our high schools as well, even local colleges, for helping create an environment that could even elect a socialist, communist, that looks to be on the road to victory right there in New York City? Again, am I going too far, sir, when I say that?
No, I think the left was very savvy and very strategic. They identified the weakness in our society. And the weakness in our society is the educational system. And they understood that if they can get control of the educational system, they can change the country. And some of them were honest about that. Some of them were honest about that. And so what you see is over the last 30 to 40 years, the capture of education, first higher ed and now moving into K through 12, by the left. And that's just a reality. We've been arguing about that and documenting it at my websites for almost 20 years now, 18 years. And that is the reality. And we have to address that. And that is mostly a left-wing phenomenon. The right does not control the cultural institutions. The right does not control higher education. The right does not control the teachers' unions, who are very political. These are all left-wing phenomenon.
I want to pause right there, William, because again, you're raising a bigger point. I'm coming right back. You want to hear the rest of this dialogue with Cornell University law professor and Equal Protection Project founder, William Jacobson. You don't want to miss this. We'll be right back. So there's no doubt that these developments between Israel and Hamas have drawn out some of the most elevated cases of anti-Semitic sentiments aimed at our Jewish friends. Besides the obvious, of course, examples such as the pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian demonstrations, it seems that just existing as a Jew in America leaves one open to attack just for their heritage. Back with me to discuss is Cornell University law professor and Equal Protection Project founder, William Jacobson. William, I hate to target an individual when I say this, but I'm only going to use them to personify, hopefully, a bigger picture here. I've always had a lot of respect for one of these individuals. I won't say which one, but when I hear some of the anti-Semitic views that are coming from people like Tucker Carlson and other individuals like Candace Owens, it seems that, I don't know, they're on some sort of tirade to diminish the Jewish success. They're on a tirade to, I don't know, blame the Likud party, Benjamin Netanyahu, for everything that is wrong for the last gazillions of years. I'm not asking you to be the sage and read the tea leaves here for us. I am interested, though, in your opinion. They seem to have gotten so far off track from historical reality. Again, William, everyone's entitled to his or her own opinion, but when none of us are entitled to the facts. In your opinion, my friend, what has happened to these individuals that they're going so far in a direction I think is divisive, I think it's misleading, and I think it's a little dangerous? They have a right to say it, but I think these points of view, without being challenged in individuals like yourself pushing back, I think it leaves a lot of individuals vulnerable because they're looking at the success of these individuals, not understanding they're not getting the full picture. Again, am I, my friend, reading too much into this?
No, this is a very serious issue, which is there has developed a real Israel derangement syndrome, that people are exploiting it. It's really just a mask, in my mind, for Jew hatred. Conspiracy theories about control of the world and control of the United States by Jews mask themselves by saying, oh, it's AIPAC, American Israel Public Affairs Committee. That's the new hot button issue. AIPAC are Americans. Americans have a constitutional right to lobby their government. It's right in the First Amendment to seek redress of grievances from the government. So why is it that Americans, not Israelis, Americans voicing their support for Israel as is their constitutional right, all of a sudden has become so demonized? All of a sudden, representatives in the House are tweeting about it nonstop, particularly Marjorie Taylor Greene, former House member Matt Gaetz, nonstop, AIPAC control, AIPAC control, AIPAC control. You see it on Tucker Carlson. You see it in various influencers. What is going on here? Why have they so demonized it when we know that the people who spend the most money in our country are from Qatar and from foreign areas? Why is it that you see all over social media, I'm not going to die for Israel, when Israel has never asked us to die for it? You know who does ask us to die for it? South Korea. We have 38,000 troops as a tripwire on the border with North Korea. South Korea is, in fact, asking Americans to die for it. But you don't hear Tucker Carlson complaining about that. You don't hear these influencers claiming, I'm not going to die for South Korea. We just signed a deal. President Trump just issued an executive order, which I think was a mistake, but he did it, pledging American defense of Qatar. Can you imagine if that happened with Israel, the explosion? But none of these people say that. Nobody's saying, I'm not going to die for Qatar. So when they don't apply their standards to other countries, particularly to Muslim countries, what is going on here? And I think, unfortunately, it's the oldest hate is coming out. Now, some people say they're on the payroll, they're receiving money from Arab governments. I don't know if that's true or not. I think for most of them, they just feel freed to let their inner demons come out. And it's a real problem. And frankly, it's going to hand the presidency to a Democrat, because what they're doing, the term often referred to as the woke right, is they are destroying the unity on the Republican side. If you wanted a plan to reinstall the Democrats in power, what would you do differently than the woke right is doing? They are taking a unified MAGA base and they are dividing it based on religious lines. They are not only uniquely singling out Israel and unfairly, they are trying to turn Christians against Jews. That's a constant theme in their reporting and in their promotion. You know, Tucker Carlson's had multiple people on to talk about how badly the Jews in Israel treat Christians, when in fact the Christian population is growing in Israel, unlike the neighboring countries. And the depopulation, of Christians in the Middle East is taking place in Muslim countries, not in Israel. So why are you focusing on Israel? There is a demonic force on a portion of the right, call it the woke right, which is trying to destroy Donald Trump's agenda, trying to destroy the MAGA movement, and they're wrapping themselves in what Marjorie Taylor Greene calls America only. Not even America first anymore, America only. And this is destructive. And we better deal with it, because if the Democrats get reinstalled into power, there's going to be a lot of trouble. We're going to go back to the bad Biden years, and you're going to have the woke right to thank for it, because the MAGA movement got Trump into office. Who his successor will be is to be determined, but this is completely destructive, and it has nothing to do about Israel. Somebody is trying to tear apart the MAGA movement. They're using Jew hatred as the basis for it, and we all better wake up to it, because we're all going to pay the price.
You know, I only have 20 seconds here with you. I'm glad you brought that up. One of my friends and guest often, retired Colonel Derek Harvey, says the same thing. He actually specified the exact numbers that AIPAC gives and that sort of thing. It's minuscule as it relates to other countries that are doing great things. And it's the same thing. I got to say this, and I'll give you 10 seconds here. When I hear individuals like Candace Owens talk about Theodore Herzl as if though he is the founder of Zionism, this is ridiculous. Zionism goes back as far as the Torah. Those of us who study it know it. Am I wrong? It's just a yes or no. I'm sorry for the time lapse here, William, but why is she getting this so wrong? Take 5 seconds, sir.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. The land of Israel is the land of the Jewish people. It is the greatest decolonization story in history, the creation of the state of Israel.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, guys, you got to go out and check out everything. We're going to post everything from our friend here, William Jacobson. Again, Cornell University law professor and equal protection project manager, founder rather, is William Jacobson. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.